Now, last week, Parliament adopted the 2025 national budget despite some members of the National Assembly rejecting it. 182 members, including representatives from the EFF, the DA and MK party, voted against the adoption of the fiscal framework, while 194 representatives from parties such as the ANC, ActionSA and the IFP voted in favour. Now, this led to the Democratic Alliance filing an application in the Western Cape High Court to challenge the legality of the 2025-2026 national budget process, raising questions on the future of the Government of National Unity in that process, and this 2 months before the first anniversary of its formation in June last year. Now, to reflect on the events of the past few days in Parliament and other matters relating to the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, we joined virtually now by the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs and President of the Inkatha Freedom Party, Velenkosini Hlabisa. Minister Hlabisa, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning to the Morning Live program, to you and the viewers of SABC.
It's been a very interesting 3 days or more, precipitated especially by the budget process. And of course, we know that the ANC and the DA are consulting internally with regard to the future of the Government of National Unity, of which the Inkatha Freedom Party is, of course, a member. So what is your take? Are you also, as the IFP, consulting? And where do you stand right now with regard to the future of the GNU?
Today at 12:30, we have a press briefing, which will be an outcome of the two-day NEC meeting. We met yesterday, and at 8 o'clock, we are continuing with our meeting, and we will communicate during the press briefing the way forward in relation to the consultations and the future of the GNU. But upfront, the IFP believes that the GNU was a right thing and still remains the right thing, because there is no one political party that got a majority, and there is no one political party that can hold the country at ransom. A combination of political parties can make a majority decision, as it happened on Wednesday.
So has the IFP, subsequent to that, consulted with the ANC or the DA for that matter around the continued participation of both of those within the structure that is the Government of National Unity?
Yes, within the GNU, we are in constant touch. As you would know, ministers are carrying on with their work as business as usual. Because we have a government that must deliver services to our people, we couldn't delay the passing of the budget as the year has started. Our people desperately need services from the government. This is our first budget as the GNU, because the previous budget, we got it in the middle, we had no contribution, but in this one, we had time to contribute. The IFP is satisfied that the budget is not just only 0.5% point VAT. It has a number of issues that will be of great benefit to our people, right from creating job opportunities, billions of rands invested on infrastructure, invested on water and sanitation, invested on electricity and energy. The construction of work in those three categories, people who will be employed will be the poorest of the poor. The budget is pro-poor as far as we are concerned. If you look at the social grants, they were increased. They will benefit the poorest of our community. The number of food items increased to be zero rated in terms of VAT will benefit our people. vis-a-vis the 0.5 point VAT increase. Again, if you look at health, billions of rands were invested on health, doctors, nurses, and other health professionals will be employed. These people will be working in public hospitals, not in private hospitals. The people who will be beneficiaries out of these doctors and nurses are the poorest of the poor, our community, not the rich people. Go to schools. Billions of rands injected to employ 11,000 teachers. The teachers will be working in public schools where ordinary children from ordinary citizens go, and the beneficiaries will be the poorest of the poor community out of these teachers employed in these schools. And again, there was a salary increase for 3 years for all public servants. These public servants are the breadwinners in our communities. So the budget is not just simply 0.5 percent point VAT increase. It has more benefit that cushion the households. People will benefit more in terms of free water, free electricity. If you look at the billions which were invested in this category, early childhood education received a great allocation which will allow about 240 per child up to 4 years in the early childhood centers. And this is the benefit derived from this budget. The list is too long. Our eyes were open. We studied the budget. We do not want to claim cheap popularity and say we are fighting for the poor, yet we are suppressing the poor. If you look closely at the budget, it talks to the poorest of the poor.
Minister Hlabisa, many South Africans will say these are promises that they've heard before, but their lived reality paints a different picture. They've had the promises of job creation before, but where are those jobs? Because many South Africans still remain unemployed. And, you know, you look at the cost of living, many South Africans are literally crippled by the high cost of living at the moment. And in as much as you say, you know, there are countermeasures to balance out the 0.5 percentage point VAT increase, that is the reality that many people do face. Those are the actual reminders that have already come through from financial institutions telling you that, you know, your rates will increase on whatever services they provide you. So that has already happened, whereas people have to wait for the jobs and other services down the line, which we hope will materialize. But as I say, those promises people have heard for the longest time. But as things stand, there are 30 days during which Treasury can examine other options to find solutions other than the implementation of that 0.5 percentage point VAT increase. Are you hopeful that they will be able to do that? Because that is what was said to people.
When we approved the budget at a cabinet level, we agreed that the president must call an urgent emergency meeting of the extended cabinet, which must happen within 30 days after Wednesday. In that meeting, we will do two things. One, how are we going to grow the economy so that we remove VAT? Secondly, we will look at each budget for each department per item as to where can we cut, but not compromising service delivery, so that we can save money to meet the gap or the shortfall that is going to be met by the VAT of 0.5% increase. So now I'm confident we will do all it takes to find options. But I want to confirm that our people must not be misled. The budget is not about 0.5% increase. It is about billions of rand in return that will compensate the challenge. It is not going to be a promise like before, people must hold us accountable on quarterly basis. The government must account. How far have we gone to execute the budget? How many jobs have been created? How many people have been employed in the Department of Health? In terms of the execution of budget, it's not going to be business as usual. This is a different government under the combination of more than one political party.
It remains to be seen, Minister Hlabisa, because you speak about, creating jobs. That would entail that the economy grows, and we know that government has missed its own targets. When was the last time that this economy actually grew at an acceptable rate? So, all of that is what South Africans' reality is right now.
I wouldn't want to comment about the period where I was not part of the government. I would want to be held accountable for the period where I'm part of the government, because I will be vocal within the cabinet that we made a promise. When is this promise? And I will be vocal in the cabinet that each minister quarterly must give an account. How far have we gone in terms of the promise? So I would like to be held accountable for the period where I'm part of the government, other than the prior period where I was not part of the government.
So how would you like to be held accountable, Minister Hlabisa? What should happen if you miss those targets?
On a quarterly basis, the government must give accountability as to how far has it gone. If there are challenges, what challenges are there, how to address those challenges, because we live in a reality. We can't say we will achieve it, because challenges crop up on the way, but you must have options that if there are these challenges, how to overcome them, what next time frame are you giving. But one thing I must assure you, we are not going to give empty promises. The promises that we are giving is something that we will stick on it. I must tell you, my sister, during our campaign, we said we want to fight during the budget time that the food items that are going to be zero rated are increased. Definitely it happened. We said we want to
But shouldn't you be fighting, Mr. Hlabisa, to make sure that South Africans actually have disposable income so that they can actually buy what they need? South Africans should not be dependent on government for grants so that they could buy those zero-rated food items. Yes, in the short term, perhaps that is what can be done, but surely government needs to be a lot more ambitious in terms of how it wants to address the challenges that we face as a nation.
Indeed, we have great ambitions. The budget is not only about grants, it is about salary increase for over a period of 3 years to all civil servants. It is about investing billions, as I have indicated, which will in turn create job opportunities. The government, as I said...
What are job opportunities, Mr. Hlabisa? What are job opportunities? Because, and this has been an ongoing debate for the longest time. These job opportunities, where are you talking about WP job opportunities? Because you can't really look at those and say those are sustainable jobs. You can't really look at those and say we have made a difference and created jobs for South Africans. Those are temporary in nature, and they are fleeting. So what are you actually talking about?
I'm not talking about EPWP. I'm talking about the 402 billion invested in infrastructure will create job opportunities during the construction projects and post-construction maintenance of those projects. I'm talking about 219 billion that will be invested in energy infrastructure during the construction period and post-construction period. There will be people employed. I'm talking about 1.56.3 billion that is invested on water and sanitation during construction period. People will be employed, and post-construction people will have to sustain those projects. It is a list of items, Sakina, that will create job opportunities for our people. I'm talking about 11,000 educators who will be employed. I'm talking about 800 medical doctors who will be employed. I'm talking of the billions of rand invested in the Department of Health to employ nurses and other health professionals out of this budget.
Which is not new. Allocations happen every year for the budget, yes. Minister Hlabisa. They do. Allocations are made every year. And yet, all of those promises we have not seen. But let me ask you, let me ask you this, Mr. Hlabisa. With regard to, trying to save money, did you discuss as cabinet the issue of trimming the fat and perhaps reducing the size of cabinet at all? Or do you believe that cabinet is bloated?
The current cabinet is an outcome of the elections last year.
No, it isn't, Mr. Hlabisa. It isn't.
It is.
No, it isn't.
No, Sakina, it is. If it was a one political party with a majority, one political party could decide alone. But it is a combination of 10 political parties.
But why did you have to increase the number of positions in cabinet? Why could the 10 parties not come together and fill the positions that were there? Why did you need to increase the size of cabinet?
The positions that were there were filled by one political party. It's 10 political parties now. But the compensation, Sakina, I think we must be honest on this one. If you look outside South Africa, many countries where there is a coalition government, it takes months to form the government, followed by violence, which South Africa did not have.
Yes, but you didn't need to increase the size of cabinet, Mr. Hlabisa. You did not need to increase the size of cabinet, but you did. For years, you even complained that cabinet was bloated. And what do you do when you become part of it? You increase it even more. So, these are some of the things that South Africans are looking and wondering about.
But the compensation, Sakina, because I think it will be fair to allow me to put my point across. The compensation will be far greater than the cabinet that is extended. That is why I'm saying, hold us accountable, give us this period as the GNU, and then hold us accountable and say, look, you are not different from what we had before. I assure you, you will see a difference.
We will see. I'm going to hold you to it, Mr. Hlabisa. That was the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Velenkosini Hlabisa, talking to us about a number of issues affecting his party, the IFP, COCTA, including future government of national unity and the recently adopted 2025-2026 fiscal framework. It's 8 o'clock.